Colin Rowe and Fred Cotter in Utopia. Deslan and Fall in College City argue that utopia has gradually collapsed throughout history. According to them, while utopian ideals initially represented the desire to create a holistic and ideal society, the applicability and incompatibility of these ideals with reality became evident over time. The authors interpret the decline of utopia, particularly with the rise of modernism as the imposition of a single ideal and the rejection of diversity. In their view, utopian projects are attempts to simplify complex and contradictory reality and reduce it to a single model, which inevitably leads to failure. Rowe and Cotter considered the collapse of utopia as a process that emerged as a result of the interaction and conflict of different utopian projects and ideals within a historical and cultural context. Tafuri, on the other hand, sees utopianism as a tool of capitalism and argues that utopian projects function as ideological apparatuses of the capitalist system. According to him, utopianism is a tool used to conceal and legitimize the contradictions and problems created by capitalism. In this context, Tafuri's critique of utopianism, unlike Rowe and Cotter's historical and cultural analysis, is based more on ideological and political approach. Rowe and Cotter see the collapse of utopia as an opportunity for architecture and urban planning. According to them, the college city proposal a more flexible, fragmented, and contradictory city vision should replace utopia. This approach represents an understanding of urban planning that accepts differences and contradictions and takes historical and cultural context into account. Tafuri, on the other hand, approaches the potential of architecture to solve social problems with skepticism and argues that architectural projects function as ideological apparatus of the capitalist system.
Rowan Cotter in Utopia, Decline and Fall propose an alternative for architecture after the fall of Utopia, which they call the Color City. According to them, instead of the monolithic and holistic vision of Utopia, a more fragmented, flexible, and contradictory understanding of the city should be adopted. The Color City is a dynamic and changing structure that brings together different historical layers, cultural elements, and architectural styles. This approach accepts the complexity and the diversity of the city, encouraging the coexistence of differences rather than imposing a single ideal. Rowe and Cotter argued that with the Color City, architecture can gain flexibility to respond to different needs and desires by taking historical and cultural context into account. Tafri, on the other hand, approaches the potential of architecture to solve social problems with skepticism and rejects the possibility of any redemptive architectural solution. According to him, architecture is one of the ideological apparatuses of the capitalist system and serves the interests of the system. Tafri claims that architectural projects, instead of solving real social problems, cover them up with an ideological veneer, and ensure the continuity of capitalism. In this context, Tafri's critique is that architecture cannot be a tool for social transformation and reproduces existing power relations. Rowe and Cotter's Colicity proposal shows that architecture can cope with a more flexible and contradictory reality by breaking free from monolithic vision of utopia. This approach argues that architecture can create a richer and more dynamic city by accepting differences and contradictions. Tafra's critique, on the other hand, approaches the potential of architecture to solve social problems with skepticism and claims that architecture projects reproduce existing power relations. These two different approaches initiate important discussions on the role and potential of the architecture.
Rowe and Cotter criticized modernism's obsession with order, particularly toward utopian project as an attempt to organize the city and society according to a single ideal model. According to them, modernism tends to simplify complex and contradictory reality and reduce it to a single understanding of order. This reflects a desire to create a uniform and homogeneous environment that ignores the diversity, differences, and historical layers of the city and society. The authors argue that this obsession with order in modernism led to the failure of utopian projects and the distractions of the city's vitality. They believe that the complexity of the city and society cannot be controlled by a single understanding of order, and therefore a more flexible, fragmented, and contradictory approach is needed. Tafri, on the other hand, reinterprets modernism's obsession with order as a tool of the capitalist system's economic power. According to him, modernism represents the desire to create a rational, efficient, and controllable environment that serves the needs of capitalism. Toffrey claims that modernism's obsession with order is shaped by the needs of industrial production and consumption, and therefore reflects the interests of economic power. According to him, modernist projects are designed to ensure the continuity of capitalism rather than solving social problems. In this context, Toffrey's critique is that modernism cannot be a tool for social transformation and reproduce existing power relations. Rowe and Cotter's critique criticizes modernism's desire to create a uniform and homogeneous environment that ignores the complexity of the city and society, while Tafri's critique criticizes modernism's desire to create a rational and controllable environment that serves the interests of economic power. These two different approaches emphasize different dimensions and consequences of modernism's obsessions with order.
Rowe and Cotter's fragment college-like city vision offers a significant alternative to today's urban challenges. Especially in corporate development and sustainable design, the college city accepts the complexity and diversity of the city by bringing together different historical layers, cultural elements, and architectural styles. This approach encourages corporate development projects to respect the city's existing fabric and character, and for new buildings to be compatible with the city's historical and cultural context. In terms of sustainable design, the college city promotes the reuse and adaptation of existing buildings and infrastructure thereby enabling the efficient use of resources and reducing environmental impact. Additionally, it allows for the creation of a more livable and sustainable city through the integration of different green spaces and sustainable transportation systems. Tafuri's warning about the limits of architecture remind us that we should approach today's urban challenges by considering the social and political context of architecture projects. According to him, architecture is one of ideological approaches of the capitalist system and serves the interest of this system. Therefore, corporate development projects and sustainable design initiatives should be addressed not only with technical and aesthetic concerns but also with values such as social justice, equality, and participation. Tafuri's warnings require architects and urban planners to adopt a more responsible and critical approach by considering the potential social and environmental impacts of their projects. In summary, while Rowe and Cotter's College City vision encouraged the search for solutions to today's urban challenges with a flexible, fragmented, and contradictory approach, Tafuri's warning requires us to adopt a more responsible and critical approach by considering the social and political context of architecture. These two different perspectives can help us produce more comprehensive and holistic solutions to the complex problems faced by today's cities.